Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Progressive Vibe. I'm your host, as always, Todrick. Today's date is June 27, 2021. This is Season 4, Episode 9, and the title of this episode, Climate Change Throughout the U.S. So, yes, guys, in today's show, we will be discussing climate change being the existential threat that it is to the human race and what measures we can take to curb this urgent matter. To help break that down, we will analyze an article by Axios that reads, Unprecedented Heat Wave Set to Roast Pacific Northwest. So it should be a very impactful show that we have today. But before we get into today's main show, as I do always, I want to thank the listeners of the Progressive Vibe podcast for making the show what it is today. Without your support, whether that is liking, sharing, personally donating your own money to the show, it goes a long way. It helps us sustain the podcast, and I couldn't be more appreciative about the kind gestures from the audience. You guys truly are the Progressive Vibe, and we're only going to continue to grow. So thank you guys for your support. Also, The Progressive Vibe is on all platforms you can get your podcast. So if that's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, we are on all platforms you can get your podcast. The Progressive Vibe also has a website. That website is theprogressivevibe.com. There you can check out our recent episodes, our past episodes. You can learn more about the host of the show. You can donate to the show, and so forth. So check that out, guys, when you get some chance. Check out the progressivevibe.com website. And last but not least, almost last but not least, The Progressive Vibe also has a link tree. So if you would like, you can go to my Twitter. And while you're there, you can also hit that follow button. You can go to my Twitter at Dottie_Vibe. That's DODI_VIBE. There, it'll be a link that you can hit. It's a link tree button that takes you to everything Progressive Vibe. So that's the Facebook page, Twitter page, Cash App, the website. It's all on that link tree. And now, last but not least, guys, this podcast today is sponsored by Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. If you like to learn more about trying to become a podcaster yourself, you can go to anchor.fm.com to learn more to get started on that, guys. And on that note, we will see you on the other side. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Hey guys, welcome to the main show. So this is an article out of Axios, and this article discusses the unprecedented heat wave levels that's set to cross the Pacific Northwest. So let's get into the article. It reads, the most severe heat wave on record in the Pacific Northwest and southwestern Canada kicks into high gear Friday and will intensify throughout the weekend and into next week. Why does it matter? Heat waves like this one are significant public health threats, particularly in areas like the Northwest where many people lack air conditioning. Extreme heat tends to be the biggest weather-related killer each year in the U.S., outranking even tornadoes and hurricanes. That's extraordinary. Numerous daily, monthly, and all-time high temperature records will be shattered. More than 13 million residents from Northern California through much of Oregon and Washington and eastward to Idaho are under extensive heat warnings. The big picture: extreme heat events are directly tied to human caused global warming. I'm going to read that again so everybody understands. The bigger picture: extreme heat events are directly tied to human caused global warming. Remember that, guys. With studies showing that severe heat events are now on average about 3 degrees Fahrenheit to 5 degrees Fahrenheit hotter than they would be without emissions of greenhouse gases from fossil fuel burning, deforestation, and other activities. Some recent studies, have shown that certain extreme heat events could not have occurred without the added boost from human caused warming. Again, I'm going to read that one more time. Some recent studies have shown that certain extreme heat events could have not occurred without the added boost from human caused warming. So this is what they're saying. NWS forecasters in Seattle said Friday that they have never seen Pacific Northwest data like this. The National Weather Service, which is typically cautious in its word choices with the public, is not holding back in its messaging this time around. The agency's forecast office in Portland, for example, issued a forecast discussion Friday morning stating unprecedented heat wave expected this weekend into next week. Agency social media accounts have also been relaying hot weather safety tips and directing people to cooling shelters. This is what's driving the news. A highly unusual weather pattern is setting up over the Pacific Northwest with a record strong high pressure area aloft known as a heat dome settling over the region and intensifying through Monday. Such a heat dome, if it reaches the strength that computer models are projecting, would yield temperature departures from average of between 25 and 45 degrees Fahrenheit across multiple states and British Columbia. It goes on to say the heat combined with a worsening drought will raise the risk of wildfires across multiple western states. It would also cause power demand to spike, which I'm sure a lot of people have been experiencing that throughout the country. Um, let's see. It goes on to say, by the numbers, virtually all of Oregon and Washington, plus portions of California, Idaho, and Montana, are under extensive heat watches and warnings. This is the case even in downtown Portland and Seattle. The heat will be most intense in inland areas of Washington and Oregon. Their temperatures are forecast to soar to between 100 degrees Fahrenheit and 115 degrees Fahrenheit on Saturday through Tuesday and remain extremely hot through much of next week. Nearly every location along the I-5 corridor from Northern California to Washington is likely to set a monthly or even an all-time high temperature record during this event. That's just extraordinary. It also says Canada will also see extreme heat and it's possible the country's all-time high temperature record of 113 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 45 degrees Celsius, will be equaled or eclipsed. How this works. One of the reasons why the Pacific Northwest will get so hot is the core of the heat dome will be parked to the northeast of the region for several days. Due to the clockwise flow of the air around the high, this will produce surges of air moving from high to lower elevation areas in Idaho, Washington, and Oregon. And this is the last part, guys. It says, when air sinks, such as when it moves out of mountainous regions and into valleys, it compresses, increases temperatures, and getting drier in the process. So I'm going to link this this Axios article to the podcast so you guys can check out the article for yourselves. It actually has a computer model projection showing temperature departures from average on Monday, June 28th, 2021. So it's just devastating, and it's just it's sad because we have ways to potentially curve this heat, this devastation of climate change that we're experiencing throughout the country, whether it's heat waves like the article discussed, whether it's more frequent hurricanes, whether it's bigger and more intensified blizzards. I feel like we have an obligation to keep addressing this, keep talking about it, and keep it in mainstream, keeping it in the mainstream in the news, because for some reason, which we all know the reason why, politicians are just so reluctant to discuss climate change, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican. And again, I feel like it all comes down to them having corporate donors, and they will only let them go as far as they will want them to go when it comes to voting on legislation that would potentially curb climate change. But that was the article, guys. It's pretty scary stuff, but it's definitely worth talking about and keeping everybody's attention to it, because it is a serious matter, and it's only going to get worse if we don't address it. But when we come back, we are going to have the social media break of the show. And once we do the social media break, we're going to have the second half of the show where just give you my vibe on the article and the whole climate change situation that the country's going through. When we come back, guys, we will have the social media break. So everybody stay tuned, and we will be right back. Hey guys, welcome to the social media break of the show. Please enjoy. If you guys didn't know who Mike Gravel was, he was a former U.S. Senator here in the United States, and unfortunately he passed away at the age of 91. So I just wanted to show recognition and pay tribute to the late Mike Gravel. He will be missed. He was one of the few senators, few Congress people that actually had a progressive outlook on what the country should be. And he's also the founder of Gravel Institute, Matter of fact, I'm going to read Gravel's Institute tweet for our first read right here. It goes to say, "We are sad to announce that Senator Mike Gravel passed away peacefully, surrounded by his family at his home in Seaside, California. He was 91, and he had lived the fullest life anyone could have ever wanted. We will miss him every day." Nina Turner commented below, said, "End all wars." He was very, very anti-war. He has a clip that I'm going to play for you guys at the end of this social media break. He had a famous clip that went viral, rightfully so. And once you hear it, you're going to co-sign with those sentiments. Here's one from past presidential candidate Marianne Williamson. She says on Twitter, "RIP the great Mike Gravel. If more of our politicians were like him, we'd be an extraordinary better country. His was a life well lived and a model of integrity for all of us to follow. Thank you and God bless you, Mike." Former U.S. Senator Mike Gravel of Alaska, who read the Pentagon Papers into the congressional record in 1971 and decades later ran for the Democratic presidential nominations as a critique of the Iraq War. That kind of gives you a little summary on what Mike Gravel was about. If you guys didn't know what Gravel Institute was, again, he is the owner, is the CEO of Gravel Institute. They build the infrastructure to beat right-wing propaganda outlets on their own turf. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. It's a beautiful thing to see. They combat pretty much against PragerU. If anybody know what PragerU is, they are the right wing of Gravel Institute, pretty much. So they combat, again, right wing propaganda. And if you guys have a Twitter, I suggest you give them a look up and a follow. You will not be disappointed. And yeah, guys, I just wanted to make this social media break dedicated to Mike Gravel. And on this note, I will leave you guys this truthful, powerful national TV presidential debate in 2008 by Mike Gravel. I think it's about maybe 2 minutes.
The first time you get there, you're all excited. My God, how did I ever get here? Then about 6 months later, you say, how the hell did the rest of them get here? And I got to tell you, after standing up with them, some of these people frighten me. They frighten me. When you have mainline candidates that turn around and say that there's nothing off the table with respect to Iran, that's code for using nukes, nuclear devices. I got to tell you, I'm President of the United States. There will be no preemptive wars with nuclear devices. To my mind, it's immoral, and it's been immoral for the last 50 years as part of American foreign policy.
Let's use a little moderator discretion here. Senator Gravel, that's a weighty charge. Who on this stage exactly tonight worries you so much?
Well, I would say the top tier ones. I'll talk to you once. They've made statements. Oh, Joe, I'll include you too. You have a certain arrogance. You want to tell the Iraqis how to run their country. I got to tell you, we should just play get out. Just play get out. It's their country. They're asking us to leave, and we insist on staying there. And why not get out? What harm is it going to do? Oh, you hear the statement, well, my God, these soldiers will have died in vain. The entire deaths of Vietnam died in vain. And they're dying in vain right this very second. You know what's worse than a soldier dying in vain? Is more soldiers dying in vain. That's
the late Senator Mike Gravel. May you rest in peace. That does it for the social media break, guys. When we come back, we will have the second half of the show. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey guys, we're back. This is the second half of the show. So here's my breakdown on climate change throughout the U.S. I believe that we should, and when I say we, I mean people who vote, no matter what aisle you or side you sit on, we all have to live in this world. We all have to live on this planet. We only get one world. There's no world B. Well, at least there's no world B that I know of. And we have to start treating our world better than what we let the politicians who are seeming to be caught up in claiming how much ever donor money they can claim. And we have to hold their feet to the fire, whether Republican or Democrat, because we, the listeners who are listening to this, we're not going to be around forever. No one is immortal, and we have loved ones, and it shouldn't be just loved ones. It should just be about humanity. But I'm going to use loved ones for this example that I'm giving. We have loved ones that's going to be around when we're long gone. And I personally don't want to leave any of my siblings, my future family, or kids, I don't want them to be living on a uninhabitable planet, because they didn't ask for that. They didn't sign up for that. And if we have ways to curb climate change, then we should pounce. We should pounce on those things. We should have a sense of urgency, particular the politicians in office who have the power with a stroke of a pen to change climate change regulations for the better. As it said in the article that we were discussing in the first half, the heat events that are occurring in the United States are directly tied to human caused global warming. And I always hear people say, well, it is hot, or, it was hotter than it was last year, or it is, more frequent hurricanes than it was a couple years ago. And, but that's just Mother Nature for you. No, it's more to it than that. It's more to it than that. It's us using emissions of greenhouse gases from fossil fuel burning, um, and other things that cause the type of climate change that we're experiencing. Deforestation is one. The lack of trees throughout the United States, particularly um in urban areas. Um, we as a country, we like to build things, and it's no shame in that, but we should have a significant amount of trees that provides oxygen. We should have a significant part that should play a significant part in our infrastructure. Um, we should also nail home the point and how important the Green New Deal is, because that piece of legislation curtails a lot of things that needs to, quite frankly, be curtailed when it comes to the way that we treat our country. Um, you know, and I just don't think that it is a demand for us to do something with urgency pertaining to global warming. And again, I think it all boils down to a lot of these politicians. They're in office for the wrong reasons. They don't care about climate change, and if they do, it's on the very, very bottom of their list. And when we're talking about life and death, um, we have to keep this at the forefront of our discussions when we're talking about um, politics. And to be quite frank with you guys, this is not a political issue. This is a humanity issue. This is a right versus wrong issue. Um, Damn the politics. And I think I'm very confident to say that the listeners of this show, progressive or conservative, tend to agree with the things that I'm saying, because that's the things that are transpiring throughout the country. No matter if you live in the Northwest, where a lot of these incidents are occurring more broadly, whether you live in the southeastern region where I'm at, whether you live in the upper north, even Canada, as the article discussed, even Canada is experiencing um, unprecedented heat wave levels that they don't tend to get, or they didn't tend to get previously. And so these things just don't occur by themselves. They occur because we aid in that. And we have to stop allowing ourselves to get caught up in this whole narrative of, well, if we're going to stop using gas, they just don't want us to, they just don't, they're going to take our car or our truck away. And it's not about that. Obviously, we're human beings. Obviously, we need transportation to move from point A to B. Nobody's saying if they cut out fossil fuels that they're going to like confiscate your vehicle. No, you're going to be provided or you're going to be provided a vehicle or you're going to have a vehicle that's going to be beneficial towards the ecosystem friendly, as they say. It's going to be healthier for the environment. It's going to be it's going to take some of the brutality that the planet or our country takes all the time for years and years and years and years. Fossil fuels have been the forefront of the reason why climate change exists. I mean, it just is. It's in the data. And I just hate that we have become so polarized as a country to where like we can't even agree on the most simple common sense things like, hey guys, we have to address climate change because places of the country and throughout the world are becoming unlivable. Like people are having to move because they can't sustain the conditions that have occurred to them throughout this climate change process that we're going through. And it's not just been in the year 2021, 2020. You know, this has been a buildup. It's just significantly got worse because we have continued throughout the presidential cycles to not make that a forefront in discussion when we talk about the things that affect everyday Americans, things that affect everyday people throughout the world. This is a nationwide issue. This is not just a U.S. issue. You know, people in the Northwest, they were just saying how they have lack of air conditioning. Yeah, because people who live in Washington and Oregon, the temperatures are usually significantly cooler than they would be, say, in my state, in Alabama, or in Texas, or in Florida. It's hotter there than it is here, and that just shouldn't be a thing. It's like 2 + 2 = 4. It's not that complicated to recognize that it shouldn't be as hot as it is in Oregon that it is in Alabama. So we have to tie these things together, and we have to recognize that this is again an existential threat, not only to the United States but to the entire world. And we have to start electing officials in office, the local, the state levels, that are going to have these policies inducted with their campaign. If you want my vote, then you have to address these things. Climate change is the top tier thing. And I'm going to leave you guys with this. During the presidential debate, everybody was pretty much guilty of it. I can't remember who really addressed it right off, but I knew it was a very, very select few. And this was the Democratic candidate presidential run. This is when they had everybody on stage who was trying to get that Democratic presidential candidate spot. Nobody really talked about climate change. The commentators, I don't CNN, MSNBC, and whoever else hosted one of the debates. I think those were the only two, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but regardless, it just wasn't a forefront of discussion. And that's just the problem. It was all based on just political things. And that's what we have to get ourselves, we have to wake ourselves up and realize that politics is eye candy. It's eye candy, and it keeps you distracted from the bigger picture, and it keeps you distracted and pitted against each other. Because again, a lot of politicians in office right now, as we speak, Democrat and Republican, they just don't have the American people's interests best at heart. Because a lot of these things, and I'm going to continue to say this throughout every episode, the majority of things that people agree on in this country that has been proposed, progressive things, I might add, they're supported by Republicans and Democrats. Addressing climate change, that is, the majority of the country supports a Green New Deal. Now, it might be slimmer than the majority supporting a higher minimum wage. Now, but at the same token, the majority of the country, whether it's 51% or 52%, majority of the country supports a Green New Deal, thus meaning wanting to address climate change. And we have to address climate change, guys. We just have to. And so that's why I wanted to take time out during this particular episode to address the threat that climate change is. Because until I don't want it to be the case to where it starts affecting everybody before people start waking up to the to the start waking up to the conclusion of, oh man, this is serious because our air conditioner keeps going out, because we keep having intensified heat waves, or we had to move from a place that we really like because we kept having very, very drastic, intense hurricanes, and that caused us to want to move locations. And the country is only so big. It's a big country, but we can't continue to try to run away from our problems. We have to address them, and we're going to have to address climate change, whether the politicians in DC want to or not. Luckily, fortunately, we do have maybe not the majority, but we do have a lump sum of politicians that want to address climate change. But it has to be a group effort, and we have to continue to, again, fight for it, guys. We have to continue to fight for it and make it known. Public pressure. That's going to wrap up the second half. Once we get back, guys, we're going to end the show. What do you guys think on climate change? Do you think it is the existential threat? of mankind? Do you think that more politicians should have that in their policies for them to become an important political figure? Because I think people who don't address this, they're not considered to be serious candidates or serious politicians. That's pretty much where I'm at with it. But when we come back, guys, we will close the show. Stay tuned, and we will be right back. Hey guys, welcome back. Just going to wrap up today's show on the Progressive Vibe Podcast, Season 4, Episode 9, Climate Change Throughout the U.S. I hope everybody enjoyed today's episode and found it to be insightful. I always enjoy having these conversations with the listeners of the show. It's important to have this kind of dialogue because it's necessary. I mean, climate change is real deal. Like, it's not anything that's pretend, and we're actually, the people who listen to this show actually live in reality, and they know that climate change is, the number one existential threat to the human race. And we have to work on holding ourselves, and more importantly, the politicians who we elect in office to have the necessary policies to combat climate change and address climate change. We will be back next week with a brand new episode, so stay tuned for that, guys. I hope everyone has a great rest of your Sunday. Have a great rest of your week, and until then, stay positive, stay progressive. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace, love.